For the longest time on this game, I've always been wondering what the best keybinds are. I'm gonna walk you guys through exactly why I think my binds are the most optimal for me. The most notorious question, what are your keybinds? Not only am I gonna tell you guys my keybinds, but I'm gonna explain to you why I think they're the most optimal for anyone coming to Fort. This is mostly because when I started playing Fortnite, this is the first game I ever touched on keyboard and mouse. Here's the reason why I'm making this vid though. If you're gonna switch keybinds, now's the time because all the comp events are essentially over. Not only that, if you're switching to keyboard and mouse, this is 100% gonna be the video for you. Just so you guys know what I'm rocking, I use a Logitech G Pro wireless and I use a Ducky 12 SF mechanical keyboard. This is a 65% keyboard from mechanicalkeyboards.com. No, I'm not sponsored, but I kind of wish I was. Keep in mind, there are a lot of exceptions to the rule of what keybinds are the perfect ones for you. At the end of the day, it really does come down to what you're comfortable with. There's so many pros that use weird and awkward binds to build and edit with, but for them it works so well because that's what they first did when they got in the game. They've been using these binds for almost the entire time playing Fortnite, so of course they're gonna be cracked with it as long as they put in the effort. There are a lot of pros that even though you think they're like the top tier builders, they still say that their keybinds are not optimal. They just don't want to go through the habit of switching because they know they're at such a high level already that it's probably not even worth. There's going to be a little bit of a structure to this video, so I'm going to start out with editing, then I'm going to do building, and then I'm going to do miscellaneous stuff, and then I'm just going to fill in the rest. The absolute best way to support me is using my creator code KenBeans in the item shop. Right now we're at about 360 people using it this month, so shout out to all of you people. You're literally amazing. If you're semi new to Fortnite or you've been keeping up with the trends of what binds are used a lot, then you might be able to guess what I use to edit. My edit bind is V and I use my thumb to press it. Now before you say anything, I use V to edit and spacebar to jump. I press them both with my thumb. All this is necessary though because this gives me full control of WASD while I'm playing Fort. That means that I'm going to be able to tunnel anything extremely easy, including the hard Mongol classic tunnels, and I'm going to be able to edit anything in that process. Being able to edit while moving left and right is extremely important. That alone is going to help you improve so much faster than you think. That's the main reason why I switched from F to edit to V with my thumb. And almost instantly, literally the first day, I started seeing improvement. Now, if you don't have good building binds, then even though you have a good edit button, it's still going to be really complicated. So what I do is I use Q for my floors, I use Shift as cone, and the two buttons on my mouse, I use wall and stair. The one closest to the left mouse click is wall, and the one further back is my stair. With these binds, I'm literally a tarping and editing machine. It just comes down to how much I practice it, so it feels like second nature when I'm building. I know for a fact so many pros use Shift as their cone, and I know that it's really optimal to use wall and stair on your mouse buttons. The only one that's semi-suspect is putting Q as floor because I have to take off my ring finger on A to move left to press Q, which is the floor. That means I'm going to take away from my movement to build, which is something you want to try and stay away from, but for me, this is the closest button to WASD, so it kind of makes sense in this case. But if you do this for every bind, then it might cause you problems because you're not going to be able to move in any direction while building because you're going to have to lift up your fingers from WASD. The more times you have to let go of WASD, the worse your movement's going to be. Keep in mind that all these build binds are on different fingers. That means that I'll be able to spam them extremely fast. That's what makes these keybinds for building and editing so optimal. Just think about it like this. How many of you have to press F, C, V, or even R or T to place builds? You have to use your index finger for literally all those buttons. You're not going to be nearly as fast as me because I'm using a separate finger for each of those keybinds. Even though there might be some of you that might be able to find me an example of a player like that who's a pro, doesn't mean that his binds are optimal. It just means he's really good. Do you have to switch if you don't have these binds? Of course not. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to let you guys know of the most optimal binds if you're just starting from scratch, or maybe you feel like you're in the same position as me because Fortnite isn't hosting any competitive events, so you have time to switch your binds and get used to new ones. All I'm saying is to be open-minded to it because now's the time to do it. Like I said, there's going to be a structure to this video, so I'm going to do the weapon keybinds last. Up next, we got the crouch and the pickaxe. I use control for crouch and my pickaxe is F. Since my thumb and pinky are completely used up, that means we have no other options to put my crouch or my pickaxe to. So in a case like this, when you're thinking about your bind, you have to put it closest to WASD as possible if it's a really important button. I don't know about you, but the pickaxe is pretty important to me. And personally, I can spam the fastest with my index finger, so I put it to F. Also, I just use my pinky to press the crouch button. I can't put it to C because I'm using my thumb to edit and jump. I don't want to add something extra in there, which might screw me up. Also, I forgot to mention that I got rid of B as emotes and I changed it to J, so I'll never press B and take out my emotes instead of edit. My old pickaxe button used to be left alt, but like I said, since I'm using my thumb completely, the only option I got is maybe use something like my nose. I don't know. Okay, so boom, we got the building, we got the editing, we got the crouch, we got the pickaxe out of the way. Next up, we got the weapon keybinds. You guys might call me a little weird for this, but hear me out. I personally would call call these optimal, but at the same time, just keep in mind that these weapon keybinds can be anything you want. If you feel comfortable pressing a different button way faster than the ones I'm about to mention, then you might want to consider using those instead. Just look at any of the free keys you haven't used up yet, and if you don't even know what those are, just watch a little bit further towards the end of the video. I'm going to mention all the keys I don't use. Okay, so I use tab as my shotgun, which is my first slot. I use 2 as my AR, which is my second slot. I use 3 as my submachine gun, which is my third slot. I use scroll wheel down as my fourth slot, and I use X as my fifth slot. I don't use 4 at all, and in fact I use 5 for my traps. The reason I put 5 to my traps was because I wanted to be an extra space away from all the other weapon keybinds, so I never get confused what my trap is. For the most part, we got everything nailed down, so I'm just going to tell you guys a little bit more of the random things. So I ping with pressing down on my scroll wheel. I use T as auto run. I use G as my inventory, but I actually use it for cursor mode, which is essentially the same thing, but if you go into the settings, you look for cursor mode. This makes it so when you hold G, it brings up your inventory, and the second you let go of G, it automatically gets it off your screen. So the second I release, it goes away. I don't have to do any other button pressing. Lots of my friends would just use the original inventory, and all that is just bringing up your inventory the normal way, and it doesn't go off your screen until you move forward or do another action with your character. So personally, I like using cursor mode instead. Oh yeah, and C is my repair button. Whenever a wall gets weak, I just press it with my index finger and boom, we good. Last but not least, I use R to reload, and the biggest one, which you've probably been waiting for, is E to interact or use. Like I said, to me, this is an essential keybind, so having this closest to WASD as possible is going to be the most beneficial. Also, don't forget that I use scroll wheel up to insta reset with. Looking back on all the keybinds that I have right now, I knew this at the start of the video, and I'm going to tell you it now. The one and only thing I might change literally after this video is instead of having scroll wheel down, which is my fourth slot, I might switch that scroll wheel down to interact instead. So that way I have 2 binds for interacting. The first one is E, and then the second one would be scroll wheel down, so whenever I'm trying to 50-50 someone, I have a better chance of getting the gun first. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't have this happen where I try and 50-50 someone so often in Fort, but it does happen, so you might want to switch to it. This is completely up to you though, and you do whatever feels comfortable. The goal is to give you multiple variations of my keybinds so you guys can have some flexibility when styling it for yourself. The main portion of this video was to tell you about the editing and building that these keybinds offer you. All the other keybinds, you can do what you like, but to me, those are the most optimal. So I'm going to assume that you use scroll wheel down to interact with instead. So now I'm going to tell you all the keybinds that are not used, so you can put the fourth slot to one of those instead, and keep scroll wheel down as interact. So the main ones that I don't use is 1, 4, Z, and left alt. Also, I don't use caps lock, so if you want to put it to that, you can as well. You're probably going to see me put it to 4 at first, but if not, the second option is definitely caps lock for me. Now you got the most optimal binds in the damn game. These are the binds that I'm going to be using to grind comp with, and hopefully finally start making some cash on Fortnite. Listen, if you're going to use KenBeans keybinds, you might as well use KenBeans supported creator code for that extra good luck. If you have any further questions about these keybinds specifically, feel free to stop by my Twitch channel link below. I literally talk to everyone in chat and almost answer every single question. There's actually one last thing: confirm edit on release. Do I use it or do I not? In my last video, I said that I'm not going to be using it, and I explained why. And at the time being, I really thought it to be true. Here's what I think about it. If you have really low ping, you should definitely use confirm edit on release. I'm going to be a man of my word, and I'm going to own up to the fact that I was wrong about last video. I've been using confirm edit on release for about 2 weeks now, and I like the fact that it takes off the stress of trying to edit everything really fast, so I can concentrate more on my aim and building. When you have to edit everything and constantly think about it, it makes the game a lot harder than it needs to be. So using confirm edit on release, in my eyes, makes the game a lot easier and smoother for me. There's pros and cons to literally everything. I'm going to be using confirm edit on release from here on out, but I recommend that you try it for yourself because literally it's different for everyone. You might have a different opinion to it than others might have. There's a lot of pros that use it, and there's a lot of pros that don't. You can get good on anything you put your mind to. Also, don't forget to go into the settings and turn on disable pre-edits, and you might as well, as you're there, just turn on auto open up doors. Shout out to everyone on the screen using code KenBeans. You're some real ones. I appreciate the homies for the one time. If you want to be featured in the next video, just send me a message on Twitter or Instagram. The support for my creator code has literally been amazing. I can't thank you guys enough, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video, man. Deuces. Peace.